Imagine discovering that the medications you take religiously every day to protect your health are actually silently destroying your heart and could cause your death at any moment. No, this is not a conspiracy theory or unnecessary alarmism. Elizabeth was 64 years old and died exactly 18 minutes after taking her heart pills on a Tuesday morning. She did not have a heart attack. She did not have a stroke. She did not suffer any accident. Elizabeth simply collapsed in the kitchen while washing her coffee cup, the victim of a fulminant cardiac arrest caused by the cocktail of medications her cardiologist had prescribed to protect her. The autopsy revealed something that kept me awake for weeks. Her heart was literally poisoned by chemical substances she had been ingesting religiously for 3 years, believing she was saving her own life. Elizabeth was not an isolated case. She represents millions of people over 60 who are being slowly murdered by the medicines they believe are saving them. And the scariest part is that you probably have the same killer medications in your cabinet at this very moment. What I am going to reveal in the next few pages will destroy everything you believe about modern medicine and might make you angry enough to sue your own doctor. Because I am talking about a legalized death conspiracy, where FDA-approved medications are killing more people over 60 than all cardiovascular diseases combined. These are not experimental drugs or illegal substances. They are medications you find in any pharmacy, prescribed by respected doctors, promoted on television as lifesavers. But the naked and raw reality is that after 60, when your liver and kidneys can no longer process synthetic poisons efficiently, these medications turn into weapons of cardiovascular destruction that create chemical dependency while silently destroying the very organ they claim to protect. During my 25 years as a cardiologist, I have witnessed a silent epidemic of iatrogenic deaths. Deaths caused by medical treatments themselves that is sweeping the elderly population without appearing in newspaper headlines. They are grandparents who die suddenly after years of taking blood pressure medication. They are healthy retirees who develop unexplainable heart failure after starting preventative treatments. They are vibrant people who turn into pharmacological zombies dependent on substances that slowly consume their hearts from the inside out. The pharmaceutical industry profits $500 billion a year, keeping you sick and dependent. And I have the scientific evidence that proves how they do it. Today, I am going to expose the 5 most lethal medications that are destroying the hearts of the elderly worldwide. Explain exactly how each of them kills in ways your doctors never told you, and reveal the natural alternatives that actually work without turning you into a walking pharmacological experiment. Because you have the right to know the truth about what you are putting into your body every day. Elizabeth died because no one had the courage to tell her this truth. But you still have a chance to save your own life, and perhaps the lives of people you love, with the information I am going to share now. The first medication that is silently killing millions of people over 60 will leave you absolutely shocked, because it is the most prescribed drug in the world to protect the heart, and one that 73% of the elderly take religiously every day, thinking they are investing in their own longevity. I'm talking about statins. Atorvastatin, simvastatin, rosuvastatin, those miracle drugs to lower cholesterol that conventional medicine promotes as essential to prevent heart attacks and strokes. Elizabeth, the patient who died on that tragic morning, had been taking 40 milligrams of atorvastatin for 3 years, prescribed by a renowned cardiologist who guaranteed she needed the medication for the rest of her life. What that doctor did not tell Elizabeth, and what 99% of doctors do not know or refuse to admit, is that statins literally destroy the heart muscle, causing a condition called statin-induced myopathy that can progress to fatal rhabdomyolysis, the massive destruction of muscle tissue that releases deadly toxins into the bloodstream. Elizabeth died not from heart disease, but from statin poisoning that literally dissolved her heart from the inside out. The mechanism by which statins kill elderly people is both simple and devastating, and it involves blocking a vital substance called coenzyme Q10, essential for energy production in heart cells. Statins work by blocking an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase in the liver to reduce cholesterol production. But this same enzyme is responsible for the production of coenzyme Q10, the fuel that allows heart cells to contract and pump blood efficiently. When you take statins for months or years, you are literally depriving your heart of the energy needed to function, creating progressive heart failure that develops so slowly it is attributed to natural aging. People over 60 already have naturally reduced levels of coenzyme Q10. And when you add statins to the equation, you are creating a cardiac energy deficiency that can be fatal. Independent studies show that statins reduce coenzyme Q10 levels by up to 40% in just 30 days. But the pharmaceutical industry has suppressed this information for decades to protect its multi-billion-dollar profits. The situation becomes even more lethal when we consider that statins also block cholesterol production in the brain, where this substance is essential for neurological function and the integrity of cell membranes. Contrary to what medical propaganda has led you to believe, cholesterol is not a poison. It is a vital substance produced by the body itself to repair damaged arteries, produce essential hormones, and maintain proper brain function. When you artificially block cholesterol production with statins, you force your body to eat its own muscle tissue to obtain the necessary components for vital functions, a process called protein catabolism that literally consumes the heart muscle. Elizabeth showed all the classic signs of statin toxicity in the months before her death. Inexplicable chronic fatigue, muscle pain she attributed to age, progressive mental confusion, and episodes of weakness that her doctors ignored as normal for her age. What these doctors failed to realize is that they were seeing the signs of a slow and systematic poisoning that culminated in the sudden death of a woman who should have lived another 20 years. Statins also cause type 2 diabetes in an alarming percentage of elderly users, creating a vicious cycle where the heart medicine causes diabetes, which in turn damages the heart in even more devastating ways. Studies show that statins increase the risk of developing diabetes by 48% in postmenopausal women, and the risk is even higher in men over 65. When you develop statin-induced diabetes, your doctor does not stop the statin. He adds diabetes medications, creating a toxic polypharmacy that overloads a liver and kidneys already compromised by age. Elizabeth had developed inexplicable diabetes after 18 months of statin use. But instead of questioning the connection, her doctor simply prescribed metformin, adding another toxic substance to her already overloaded system. The combination of statin plus diabetes medication plus blood pressure medications, which she needed because statins can also cause hypertension, created a perfect chemical storm that her 64-year-old heart simply could not withstand. If you are taking statins and are over 60, your life may be in danger at this very moment. But there is a safe way to protect yourself without becoming another iatrogenic death statistic. First, never stop statins abruptly without medical supervision, as the withdrawal syndrome can cause severe arterial inflammation that can trigger heart attacks. Instead, Work with a conscious doctor to gradually reduce the dose while implementing proven natural protocols for cardiovascular health. Immediately supplement with high-quality coenzyme Q10, 100 to 200 milligrams daily, to protect your heart from the energy deficiency caused by statins. Add chelated magnesium, 400 milligrams daily, to protect against muscle cramps and arrhythmias. Implement a diet rich in healthy fats like extra virgin olive oil, avocado, and wild fish that provide the building blocks your body needs to produce cholesterol properly. And most importantly, question the narrative that high cholesterol is dangerous. Studies show that elderly people with high cholesterol, 200 to 280, live longer and have better cognitive function than those with artificially low cholesterol. Elizabeth could be alive today if someone had questioned the actual need for statins and offered natural alternatives that truly protect the heart, instead of slowly destroying it. The second killer medication destroying the hearts of the elderly worldwide will make you even more outraged, because it is the anti-inflammatories that 84% of people over 60 take like candy, thinking they are completely safe because they are sold over the counter. I am talking about ibuprofen, diclofenac, naproxen, and all NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs that elderly people consume daily for joint pain, headaches, or any minor discomfort, without knowing that each pill is a dose of cardiovascular poison. The pharmaceutical industry has spent billions convincing you that these drugs are gentle and safe because they do not require a prescription. But the reality is that NSAIDs kill more people over 60 than many diseases considered fatal. Elizabeth also took 600 milligrams of ibuprofen 3 times a day for arthritis in her knees, a dose her rheumatologist said was perfectly safe for long-term use. What this doctor did not explain is that NSAIDs block essential enzymes called COX-1 and COX-2 that protect the lining of the arteries and regulate blood pressure, causing sudden hypertension, fluid retention, and cardiac overload that can result in sudden death. The mechanism by which anti-inflammatories destroy the heart is devastatingly simple and has been hidden from the population for decades to protect a $15 billion annual industry. NSAIDs block the production of prostaglandins, natural substances that regulate inflammation, but are also essential for protecting the inner lining of the coronary arteries and maintaining the salt and water balance in the kidneys. When you block these protective prostaglandins, you are removing the natural layer of protection from your arteries, leaving them vulnerable to damage, inflammation, and the formation of fatal clots. Simultaneously, NSAIDs force the kidneys to retain sodium and water, increasing blood volume and creating hypertension that can spike to medical emergency levels in a matter of days. Elderly people whose kidneys already function at 50 to 70% of their original capacity are especially vulnerable because they cannot properly compensate for this overload, resulting in pulmonary edema, congestive heart failure, and sudden death. Suppressed studies show that just 7 days of ibuprofen use in people over 65 can raise the risk of a heart attack by 78%. But this information never reached the public because it would destroy one of Big Pharma's biggest sources of profit. The situation becomes even more deadly when we consider that most seniors take NSAIDs in combination with other medications, creating pharmacological interactions that can be fatal in a matter of hours. NSAIDs dangerously potentiate the effects of blood pressure medications, causing sudden drops in pressure that can result in fainting, fatal falls, and cerebral ischemia. When combined with anticoagulants like warfarin, which many seniors take to prevent clots, NSAIDs multiply the risk of internal hemorrhages by 400%, potentially causing fatal gastrointestinal bleeding that kills within a few hours. The NSAID plus diuretic plus blood pressure medication combination, extremely common in elderly people, creates a death triad that overloads the kidneys to complete failure. Elizabeth was taking this exact combination: ibuprofen for arthritis, losartan for blood pressure, and hydrochlorothiazide as a diuretic. This combination created a perfect storm of renal toxicity and cardiovascular overload that culminated in the cardiac arrest that killed her that Tuesday morning. Her doctors never questioned whether the three medications were compatible. Each specialist prescribed within their own area without considering the cumulative effect on an already aging heart. Anti-inflammatories also cause severe gastrointestinal damage that can lead to death from hemorrhage, especially in elderly people whose stomach lining is already thinner and more vulnerable. More than 100,000 people are hospitalized annually in the U.S. for gastrointestinal bleeding caused by NSAIDs, and 16,500 die, more deaths than those caused by AIDS. But these statistics are systematically hidden because exposing the truth about NSAIDs would destroy not only the pharmaceutical industry, but also the credibility of thousands of doctors who prescribe these poisons daily. Bleeding can start silently without obvious symptoms. And when the person finally feels symptoms like dark stools or vomiting blood, they have often already lost so much blood that they enter fatal hypovolemic shock. Elizabeth had started having heartburn in recent weeks, a symptom she treated with antacids without realizing it was a sign that the ibuprofen was eroding her stomach lining. On the morning of her death, the autopsy revealed not only a heart poisoned by statins, but also multiple gastric ulcers caused by the NSAIDs that were days away from perforating and causing fatal peritonitis. The safe elimination of anti-inflammatories from your life can save not only your heart, but also your life. And there are infinitely more effective natural alternatives that do not carry risks of sudden death. Stop taking any NSAID immediately if you are over 60, especially if you take other cardiovascular medications. The interaction could kill you today. For pain and inflammation, use high-absorption curcumin, 500 milligrams twice daily with piperine to improve bioavailability, which is more effective than ibuprofen at reducing inflammation without any cardiovascular side effects. Add high-quality wild fish oil, 2 to 3 grams daily of EPA and DHA, which is a powerful natural anti-inflammatory that protects the heart instead of attacking it. Implement physical therapies like ice, heat, massage, acupuncture, and low-impact exercises that treat the cause of pain instead of masking symptoms with poisons. For occasional acute pain, use low-dose paracetamol for short periods, which, although not ideal, is infinitely safer for the heart than any NSAID. And most importantly, investigate and treat the root causes of inflammation. Magnesium deficiencies, omega-3 imbalances, food intolerances, chronic stress, and heavy metal toxicity. Elizabeth could be alive and pain-free today if she had discovered these natural alternatives instead of blindly trusting the poisons that conventional medicine calls treatment. The third killer medication destroying the hearts of the elderly will leave you speechless because it is the proton pump inhibitors, PPIs. Omeprazole, pantoprazole, esomeprazole. Those stomach protectors that 68% of people over 60 take daily for heartburn and reflux, thinking they are completely harmless. The pharmaceutical industry promotes these medications as essential for protecting the stomach, especially when you take other medications. But the devastating reality is that PPIs destroy the heart in ways so subtle and progressive that death seems natural when it finally happens. Elizabeth took 40 milligrams of omeprazole every morning for 4 years. Initially prescribed to protect her stomach from anti-inflammatories and then maintained because it did no harm, according to her gastroenterologist. What this doctor did not know, or pretended not to know, is that PPIs cause severe magnesium deficiency that results in fatal cardiac arrhythmias, and that long-term use of these drugs increases the risk of heart attack by 70% in elderly people. Elizabeth died of a ventricular arrhythmia that was directly caused by the magnesium depletion provoked by years of omeprazole use. The mechanism by which proton pump inhibitors kill elderly people is frighteningly simple, and involves the destruction of the absorption of nutrients essential for cardiac function. PPIs work by blocking the production of gastric acid, but this acid does not just serve digestion. It is essential for absorbing magnesium, vitamin B12, iron, calcium, and vitamin D from food. When you block stomach acid production for months or years, you are creating massive nutritional deficiencies that silently destroy cardiovascular function. Magnesium deficiency is especially deadly because this mineral is essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including the contraction and relaxation of the heart muscle. Elderly people already have naturally lower magnesium levels, and when you add PPIs to the equation, you are creating a depletion that can cause sudden death by ventricular arrhythmia. Independent studies show that PPI use for more than a year reduces magnesium levels by up to 60%. But the pharmaceutical industry has suppressed this information because it would destroy a $24 billion annual profit source. The vitamin B12 deficiency caused by PPIs is equally devastating for the heart and can cause a condition called megaloblastic cardiomyopathy, where the heart muscle literally deteriorates due to the lack of this essential vitamin. Vitamin B12 is crucial for energy production in heart cells and for the maintenance of the heart's electrical system that controls the heartbeat. When you block B12 absorption with PPIs, you are forcing the heart to function with a chronic energy deficiency that eventually leads to heart failure. Elizabeth had developed inexplicable fatigue and occasional palpitations over the last 2 years, symptoms her doctors attributed to aging without investigating B12 levels. B12 deficiency also causes elevation of homocysteine, a toxic amino acid that directly damages the coronary arteries and dramatically increases the risk of fatal clots. People who use PPIs for more than 2 years have homocysteine levels 40% higher than the normal population, creating chronic arterial inflammation that can culminate in sudden cardiovascular events. PPIs also interfere with the metabolism of clopidogrel, Plavix, an anticoagulant that many seniors take to prevent clots, making it completely ineffective and leaving the person vulnerable to heart attacks and strokes. This deadly drug interaction has been known for over a decade, but continues to be ignored by doctors who prescribe both medications simultaneously. When Elizabeth started taking clopidogrel after an episode of angina, none of her doctors questioned the interaction with the omeprazole she had been using for years. The result was that she believed she was protected against clots. But in reality, she was completely vulnerable because the omeprazole was blocking the activation of clopidogrel in the liver. Furthermore, PPIs increase the risk of Clostridioides difficile infections, a bacterium that causes potentially fatal colitis, especially in hospitalized seniors. The systemic inflammation caused by these infections can trigger cardiovascular events in already vulnerable people, creating a cascade of complications that often ends in death. Safe elimination of PPIs can save your life, but it must be done gradually to avoid the rebound effect that can cause excessive stomach acid production. If you have been using PPIs for more than 3 months, reduce the dose by 50% for 2 weeks, Then alternate days for another 2 weeks before stopping completely. Simultaneously implement natural protocols to heal reflux at the root. Eliminate inflammatory foods like gluten, dairy, and processed foods that cause intestinal permeability. Add high-quality digestive enzymes, especially betaine HCl for elderly people, that restore proper digestion without blocking essential functions. Supplement with chelated magnesium, 400 milligrams, vitamin B12 methylcobalamin, 1,000 micrograms sublingual, and vitamin D3 with K2 to correct the deficiencies caused by PPIs. Use high-potency probiotics to restore the gut microbiota damaged by chronic acid blockade. For acute reflux symptoms, use occasional baking soda or chamomile and ginger teas that soothe the stomach without blocking essential functions. Elizabeth could be alive today if someone had explained that her stomach protector was actually killing her heart slowly, and that there are safe and natural ways to heal reflux without poisoning yourself daily with medications that destroy the absorption of nutrients essential for life. Before revealing the 2 most dangerous medications on our list, I want to share a discovery with you that could change everything in your life. If you have been feeling low on energy, with a foggy mind, or simply are no longer the vibrant person you used to be, there is a scientific reason for that, and a natural solution that can give you back the vitality you thought you had lost forever. I discovered a revolutionary formula called NeuroSurge that was specifically developed for people who, like you, are tired of feeling held hostage by medications that promise to help but leave you feeling worse every day. This is not just another vitamin you buy at the pharmacy. It contains over 20 naturally selected ingredients that work together to restore the energy, mental clarity, and vitality that pharmaceutical drugs have stolen from you. Imagine waking up in the morning, feeling truly rested, with natural energy to face the entire day without that constant fatigue. Imagine your mind working like a well-calibrated machine, remembering names, dates, and information with ease. Imagine your heart beating strong and regular, without palpitations or that feeling of tiredness when climbing stairs. This is not a fantasy. It is exactly what clinical studies show happens when you nourish your body with the correct ingredients. NeuroSurge contains olive leaf extract, which naturally supports cardiovascular health and helps your body maintain ideal blood pressure levels. Cassia cinnamon works to optimize how your body processes sugar, giving you stable energy throughout the day without the spikes and crashes that leave you exhausted. Green tea extract directly feeds your brain, improving focus, memory, and that mental clarity you miss. The blend also includes grapeseed extract, which strengthens your blood vessels naturally, and blueberry extract, which protects your vision and supports healthy brain function. Each ingredient was chosen not only for its individual effectiveness, but for how they work synergistically to create a complete transformation in how you feel and function daily. This formula is completely natural, free of synthetic chemicals, non-habit-forming, and safe for long-term use. Many people report feeling positive differences within the first few weeks: more energy in the morning, better sleep at night, clearer thoughts during the day, and a general sense of vitality they have not felt in years. I will leave the link in the comments so you can learn more about how NeuroSurge can help you get rid of dangerous drug dependency and reclaim your natural health. Now that you know a real and safe alternative, are you ready to discover the 2 most dangerous medications that could be destroying your health right now? The 4th medication on our list of the most dangerous will leave you completely outraged because it is the beta blockers. Metoprolol, atenolol, propranolol. Medications that 45% of people over 60 take for blood pressure and the doctors prescribe like candy promising cardiovascular protection when in reality they are creating a time bomb in your chest. These drugs are promoted as essential for controlling blood pressure and preventing heart attacks. But the shocking truth that the pharmaceutical industry hides is that beta blockers cause progressive heart failure, diabetes, severe depression, and can kill you in your sleep through extreme bradycardia. Elizabeth also took 50 milligrams of metoprolol twice a day, prescribed after an episode of high blood pressure. And in the final weeks before her death, she had complained of extreme fatigue, shortness of breath when climbing stairs, and episodes of dizziness. All classic signs that the beta blocker was literally shutting down her heart. The autopsy revealed that her heart had become dangerously slow and weak, unable to pump blood adequately, a condition directly caused by chronic beta blocker poisoning. Beta blockers kill elderly people through a devastatingly simple mechanism. They block beta-adrenergic receptors in the heart, preventing it from responding properly to adrenaline and noradrenaline signals that are essential for maintaining heart function in stress or emergency situations. When you take beta blockers chronically, you are literally shutting down your heart's natural ability to speed up when necessary, such as during exercise, stressful situations, or medical emergencies. For elderly people whose hearts already function with reduced capacity, this artificial suppression can be fatal. During sleep, when the parasympathetic nervous system naturally reduces the heart rate, beta blockers can cause extreme bradycardia, a very slow heartbeat that results in sudden cardiac arrest. Elizabeth had started using a heart monitor in the last few weeks because she felt her heart stopping during the night. Episodes that she and her doctors attributed to anxiety, when in reality they were signs that the metoprolol was causing dangerous pauses in her heartbeat. The situation becomes even more lethal when we consider that beta blockers cause insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes in an alarming percentage of elderly users, creating a vicious cycle where the heart medication causes diabetes, which in turn damages the heart even more severely. Beta blockers block the signals that normally stimulate insulin release and also reduce tissue sensitivity to insulin, forcing the pancreas to work on overload to maintain normal blood sugar levels. Over time, this overload leads to pancreatic exhaustion and frank diabetes, a condition that exponentially multiplies the risk of cardiovascular disease. Elizabeth had developed prediabetes after 18 months of metoprolol use, but her doctors never connected the dots between the medication and the metabolic deterioration. Beta blockers also mask the symptoms of hypoglycemia, preventing diabetics from noticing when their sugar levels are dangerously low, resulting in hypoglycemic comas that can be fatal, especially during sleep when no one is watching. Beta blockers also cause severe depression and cognitive decline in elderly people through mechanisms that go far beyond the simple side effect listed on the labels. These drugs cross the blood-brain barrier and block beta receptors in the brain that are essential for the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. The result is a drug-induced chemical depression that can be so severe it leads to suicide, especially in elderly men who already face social isolation and health problems. The reduction in cerebral blood flow caused by beta blockers also contributes to progressive cognitive decline, with many people developing symptoms that mimic early dementia. Elizabeth had become progressively more depressed and confused in recent months, symptoms her family attributed to normal aging and stress without realizing they were direct effects of beta blocker poisoning. The combination of depression, extreme fatigue, and cognitive difficulties had made her quality of life so poor that she had mentioned to her daughter that she no longer saw the point in living. A tragic comment that we now know was directly related to the neurotoxic effects of metoprolol. If you are taking beta blockers, your life may be in immediate danger. But there is a way to free yourself from this pharmacological trap without causing a rebound effect that could be fatal. Never stop beta blockers abruptly, as this can cause severe rebound hypertension, dangerous tachycardia, and even heart attacks. Instead, work with a conscious doctor to reduce the dose gradually over 4 to 6 weeks, while implementing natural protocols for cardiovascular support. Immediately start supplementing with coenzyme Q10 and chelated magnesium to support natural heart function, and add taurine, which strengthens the heart muscle without suppressing its responsiveness. Implement deep breathing exercises and meditation that naturally activate the parasympathetic system, reducing blood pressure without drugging the heart. Eliminate refined salt and processed foods, increasing potassium through fresh vegetables to naturally balance blood pressure. Use stress reduction techniques like gentle yoga, acupuncture, and massage that reduce blood pressure sustainably without side effects. And most importantly, investigate and treat the root causes of hypertension, insulin resistance, magnesium deficiencies, heavy metal toxicity, sleep apnea, and chronic stress. Elizabeth could be alive, energetic, and happy today if someone had questioned the actual need for beta blockers and offered natural alternatives that truly protect the heart instead of progressively shutting it down. The fifth and final killer medication on our list is the most shocking of all, because they are the drugs that 91% of doctors prescribe automatically for people over 60, thinking they are saving lives, when in reality they are signing a slow and agonizing death sentence. I am talking about anticoagulants: warfarin, rivaroxaban, apixaban, dabigatran, those clot protectors that have turned millions of seniors into walking hemorrhage bombs who can bleed to death from any minor trauma. The pharmaceutical industry has convinced doctors and patients that these drugs are essential to prevent strokes and embolisms. But the terrifying truth they hide is that anticoagulants kill more elderly people through fatal hemorrhages than they save through clot prevention. Elizabeth took 20 milligrams of rivaroxaban daily, prescribed after an episode of atrial fibrillation. And in the weeks before her death, she had developed unexplained bruising, gum bleeding, and episodes of nosebleeds that her doctors considered normal for someone on anticoagulation. The reality is that these were signs that her blood was so thin that any minor impact could cause fatal internal hemorrhage, exactly what happened on the night of her death. The mechanism by which anticoagulants kill elderly people is frighteningly predictable, and involves the destruction of the delicate coagulation balance that keeps you alive. These drugs work by blocking essential factors in the coagulation cascade, preventing the blood from forming clots when necessary, not just when dangerous. For elderly people whose blood vessels are already more fragile and whose livers process medication more slowly, this artificial interference can turn any minor trauma into a catastrophic hemorrhage. When you take anticoagulants chronically after age 60, you are constantly living on the razor's edge between clot prevention and death by bleeding. What makes this situation even more perverse is that new anticoagulants like rivaroxaban and apixaban have no effective antidote. If you start bleeding, there is no way to quickly reverse the effects, and you can die while doctors watch helplessly. Elizabeth had suffered a minor fall in the garden 2 days before she died, a trauma that in a normal person would cause only a bruise, but in someone super anticoagulated caused progressive intra-abdominal hemorrhage that culminated in sudden death. The situation becomes even more deadly when we consider that elderly people on anticoagulants often develop silent gastrointestinal bleeding that can last for weeks or months before becoming fatal. The lining of the stomach and intestines in elderly people is already naturally thinner and more vulnerable. And when you add potent anticoagulants, you are creating a situation where any minor irritation can cause bleeding that never stops properly. Thousands of people die annually from severe anemia caused by chronic gastrointestinal bleeding that went unnoticed until it was too late for treatment. Bleeding can be so gradual that the person simply feels increasingly tired and weak, symptoms that are attributed to normal aging, while in reality indicating they are losing blood internally every day. Elizabeth had complained of increasing fatigue and paleness in recent weeks, signs that, in retrospect, clearly indicated progressive internal bleeding caused by rivaroxaban. Anticoagulants also interact dangerously with common medications like aspirin and anti-inflammatories, exponentially multiplying the risk of fatal hemorrhages. Yet, many doctors prescribe these deadly combinations without considering the consequences. Anticoagulants also cause paradoxical arterial calcification, where the same medication that should protect against clots actually accelerates the hardening of the arteries through mechanisms that conventional medicine refuses to acknowledge. Warfarin, the oldest anticoagulant, blocks vitamin K, which is essential not only for coagulation, but also for keeping calcium in the bones and out of the arteries. When you block vitamin K chronically, you are forcing calcium to deposit in the arterial walls, creating arteries as stiff as iron pipes that are more prone to rupture and less able to adapt to pressure changes. The new anticoagulants cause similar problems through different mechanisms, all resulting in accelerated cardiovascular deterioration disguised as treatment. Elizabeth had developed severe arterial stiffness in the years she used rivaroxaban, a condition that contributed to the hypertension episodes that eventually overloaded her heart, already weakened by other medications. The cruel irony is that the medications prescribed to protect her heart actually accelerated its deterioration, creating a vicious cycle of pharmacological dependency that ended in premature death. If you are taking anticoagulants, you need to understand that you are playing a pharmacological Russian roulette where the chances of fatal hemorrhage can outweigh the clot prevention benefits, especially if you are over 70. Withdrawal from anticoagulants must be done under strict medical supervision, but there are natural alternatives that can offer cardiovascular protection without turning you into a bleeding bomb. Immediately implement a natural anti-inflammatory protocol with high-absorption curcumin, wild fish oil, and aged garlic extract, which naturally reduce platelet aggregation without completely blocking coagulation. Add nattokinase, a natural enzyme that dissolves clots safely and reversibly, unlike synthetic anticoagulants. Supplement with vitamin K2, if not on warfarin, to keep calcium in the bones and out of the arteries. Use chelated magnesium, which relaxes blood vessels and reduces the tendency for excessive coagulation. Eliminate pro-inflammatory and pro-coagulant foods like refined sugar, processed vegetable oils, and grain-fed animal meats. Practice low-impact exercises that improve circulation naturally without risk of trauma. And most importantly, investigate and treat the root causes of the tendency for clotting, chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, nutritional deficiencies, and heavy metal toxicity. Elizabeth could be alive today with blood flowing properly, but with normal clotting ability if someone had offered these natural alternatives instead of condemning her to live as a hemorrhage bomb waiting to explode. Before we conclude, I must make something absolutely clear so there are no misunderstandings about the information I have shared today. None of the medications I mentioned are completely useless or without medical purpose. All of them have their specific functions, and can be literal lifesavers when prescribed correctly at the appropriate dose for the right condition and for the necessary amount of time. The devastating problem I have witnessed over decades as a cardiologist is not in the medications themselves, but in the uncontrolled, prolonged, and often unnecessary use of them, especially in elderly people whose bodies process substances differently. If your doctor prescribed any of these medications after a careful assessment of your specific risks and benefits, do not stop taking them abruptly based on what you watched in this video. Sudden discontinuation can be just as dangerous as inappropriate use. The real danger I want to warn you about is the irresponsible self-medication that has become epidemic in our society, where elderly people take anti-inflammatories like candy for any minor discomfort, use omeprazole for years without medical supervision, or continue with statins decades after the initial prescription without proper reassessment. Elizabeth, the patient I tragically lost, did not die because her doctors were malicious. She died because she was taking a combination of medications that were never reviewed together, some of which she had started on her own, and others she continued using long beyond what was necessary. The problem is that our medical culture treats medications as permanent solutions to temporary problems, when in reality most of them should be used for limited periods while the root causes of health problems are sought and treated. The crucial message I want you to take away is this: medications are powerful tools that can save lives when used appropriately, but they become poisons when used indiscriminately. Every pill you put in your mouth should have a clear justification, a specific goal, a defined time frame, and be monitored regularly for effectiveness and safety. If you feel pain and automatically take an ibuprofen, if you use omeprazole for years without questioning if you still need it, if you take statins because the doctor said so once 5 years ago, or if you combine multiple medications without proper supervision, then you are in the danger zone that killed Elizabeth. Self-medication with seemingly safe over-the-counter medications is one of the leading causes of iatrogenic death in elderly people, and it needs to be treated with the same seriousness we treat controlled drugs. My responsibility is to alert you to the real risks I have witnessed, but also to guide you to seek competent and questioning medical care. If you are taking any of the medications we discussed, schedule an appointment with your doctor specifically to review each one of them, why you are taking it, if it is still necessary, if the dose is appropriate for your current age and condition, and if there are safer alternatives. Bring a list of all medications you use, including vitamins, supplements, and occasional medications, because interactions can be fatal. Question everything. How long do I need to take this? What are the specific risks at my age? Are there natural alternatives I can try first? How are we going to monitor if this medication is harming me? A good doctor will be happy to answer these questions and work with you to find the safest and most effective protocol. The ultimate goal is not to make you afraid of medications when you truly need them, but rather to empower you to be an active and informed participant in your own healthcare. Medication should be the last resort after genuine attempts to address problems through lifestyle changes, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and other natural interventions. When medications are necessary, they should be used at the lowest effective dose for the shortest time possible, with regular monitoring and always with a plan to eventually eliminate them when safe. Elizabeth could be alive today if she had questioned the actual need for each medication she took, if she had sought natural alternatives first, and if she had worked with doctors who saw medications as temporary tools, not permanent solutions. You have the power to have a different fate, But that requires you to become an active advocate for your own health, questioning everything, and never accepting medications as an easy answer to complex problems. If you have made it this far, I want to sincerely congratulate you, because it demonstrates a level of commitment to your health that few have the courage and discipline to maintain to the end. You now possess information that can literally save your life or the life of someone you love deeply. Knowledge about the hidden dangers of medications that millions of people would like to have, but never will, because they are not willing to question the established medical system. Always remember the tragic story of Elizabeth. She was a careful person. She trusted her doctors. She took all her medications exactly as prescribed. But she did not have the knowledge you have now about how these medications can interact and accumulate in dangerous ways in the aging body. You have a huge advantage over her and millions of others. You know where the risks are, and more importantly, you know how to protect yourself through informed and conscious choices. The real transformation of your health begins with a simple decision you can make right now. Become an active participant in your own medical care instead of a passive recipient of prescriptions. Schedule a consultation with your doctor specifically to review all the medications you use, questioning the current need for each one, exploring safer alternatives, and establishing plans to gradually reduce those that are not absolutely essential. Do not be the patient who accepts prescriptions without questions. Be the one who asks the hard questions, who researches natural alternatives, and who understands that your body is a temple that deserves the best care possible. Educate yourself on nutrition, natural supplementation, appropriate exercise for your age, and stress management techniques that can eliminate the need for many synthetic medications. An informed and questioning approach can make the difference between decades of pharmacological dependency and a life of natural vitality. If this video opened your eyes to the complex reality of medications and how they can be both saviors and destroyers depending on how they are used, show your support by leaving a powerful like that helps the algorithm show this vital information to more people who urgently need responsible medical education. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving honest health information that promotes the conscious use of medications and safe, natural alternatives. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss content that can literally make the difference between a life of pharmacological dependency and health autonomy. And most importantly, share this video with at least 3 people you love. It could be someone taking multiple medications without proper supervision, an elderly family member who could benefit from this education, or anyone who deserves to know they have options beyond conventional medicine. Comment below which of the 5 medications surprised you the most, and what specific action you intend to take to protect your health. I want to follow your empowerment journey because your experience can inspire and educate others facing similar dilemmas about medications. Read the comments from other viewers to find motivation and strategies that can help you too. Often, the best insights come from people who have gone through similar experiences and found safer paths. Remember that you are not alone on this journey to find true health. And every intelligent question you ask your doctor, every research you do on natural alternatives, and every conscious decision you make about what you put in your body contributes to a larger movement of personalized and responsible medicine. I end with a reflection I want you to carry with you forever. Your health is your most precious asset, and you have the absolute right to fully understand any substance you put into your body. Medications can be valuable tools when used wisely, but they should never be accepted blindly or used indefinitely without question. Truly effective medicine combines the best of modern science with natural wisdom, personalized protocols with holistic prevention, and interventions when necessary with education for autonomy. Elizabeth did not have the chance to make informed choices because she lived in a time when questioning medications was discouraged. But you live in an era where information is available, and you have the power to make decisions that can add not only years to your life, but life to your years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching until the end, and for committing to your health education. See you in the next video with more information that can transform your relationship with medicine and empower you to live with natural vitality. Take care of yourself with wisdom, question with courage, and always remember that you deserve the best possible care. Care that honors both science and nature, that uses medications when necessary, but seeks health through life choices that nourish and strengthen your body naturally.